When the name Kris Humphries comes up, most people still remember him as the NBA player who married Kim Kardashian in a lavish televised ceremony only for the union to collapse just 72 days later. The marriage and its spectacular implosion made headlines around the world, casting Humphries into a kind of celebrity limelight that few professional athletes are prepared for. The court of public opinion often painted him as either Nana V, opportunistic, or a punchline in the Kardashian empire's long media saga. But away from the noise and the tabloid frenzy, Kris Humphries' life has unfolded in a far quieter, more grounded direction since that chapter closed. His private world after the divorce has been defined less by scandal and more by introspection, a desire for normalcy, and a surprisingly steady business acumen that has helped him move away from the Hollywood circus. The divorce was finalized in 2013 after a drawn-out legal battle, and by that time Humphries' basketball career had already begun to feel the weight of distraction. He had been a solid NBA player, known for his rebounding and hustle, bouncing between teams like the Utah Jazz, Toronto Raptors, Dallas Mavericks, New Jersey Nets, and later the Washington Wizards and Atlanta Hawks. While he never reached all-star heights, he was respected on the court as a role player who worked hard. Yet, after the divorce, Humphries found himself more famous for a failed marriage than for his contributions to basketball. The public perception was difficult for him to shake, and for years he rarely gave interviews, retreating instead into his career and then, eventually, his private life. In a later essay for the Players' Tribune, he admitted that the ridicule had been painful. That being the butt of late-night jokes and constant memes was something no amount of athletic training had prepared him for. The experience left him cautious, hesitant to share too much of himself publicly again. Off the court, Humphries slowly began shifting focus from sports to business. Having earned millions during his playing career, he was determined not to squander his earnings in the ways so many athletes unfortunately do. He began investing in real estate, becoming a landlord and property developer in Minnesota, where he grew up. Minnesota remained a grounding place for him, away from the coastal celebrity bubble that had consumed his life during the Kardashian years. Friends say he always valued his Midwestern roots, preferring simple comforts and a slower lifestyle to constant paparazzi flashes. That preference became even clearer once he stepped out of the limelight. Humphries also entered the food industry, opening several franchise restaurants, including Five Guys Burgers, and later participating in ventures in the hospitality space. These moves reflected his belief in tangible, stable businesses rather than risky vanity projects. His choices seemed pragmatic, focused on long-term sustainability rather than chasing fame or trendiness. For someone once accused of marrying into celebrity for attention, his retreat into relatively anonymous business ownership told quite a different story. Personally, Humphries' romantic life after Kim has remained deliberately quiet. While tabloids occasionally link him to models or public figures, none of those connections have taken on the kind of notoriety that his relationship with Kim carried. That is partly by design. Humphries has learned to keep relationships private, away from Instagram announcements and gossip columns. He rarely shares details, preferring to protect partners from the circus he once endured. People close to him note that he genuinely longs for a family of his own, but one that is built on privacy and authenticity rather than spectacle. The lessons of his brief marriage have lingered, reminding him how painful it can be to watch intimacy turned into global entertainment. Unlike many celebrities who lean into the attention, Humphries' survival strategy has been to reject it. That rejection has meant fewer headlines, but also a more stable sense of identity. Another aspect of Humphries' life after divorce has been his relationship with basketball itself. He played his final NBA season in 2017, quietly bowing out of the league without much fanfare. Retirement was an adjustment, as it is for many athletes who spend their lives in the structure of training and competition. Humphries admitted that letting go of basketball was tough, but it also opened space for him to develop other parts of his life. He began coaching young players, giving back to the sport by mentoring youth in Minnesota. This mentorship allowed him to stay connected to basketball without the intense spotlight of the NBA. It also gave him a sense of purpose, reinforcing that his identity extended beyond being an athlete or a celebrity ex-husband. The stigma of his failed marriage still follows him, though in subtler ways. For years, when his name appeared online, it was usually tethered to Kim Kardashian, as though his identity could not exist without hers. In his essay, he admitted that the marriage was never fake to him, that he entered it with genuine intentions, and that the backlash against him was crushing precisely because people assumed otherwise. That need to defend his authenticity continues to shape the way he lives now. He avoids situations that could be construed as performative or opportunistic, preferring instead to be seen as a businessman, a son, a brother, and a private individual. Friends often describe him as down to earth, someone who enjoys a quiet night at home over a Hollywood party. His private life has been a deliberate rejection of the stage he once shared with Kim. In Minnesota, he finds comfort in normal routines, time with family, managing his businesses, and participating in community life. Locals say that he blends in, often spotted at grocery stores or local restaurants without the fuss that once surrounded him. To them, he is less Kim Kardashian's ex, and more a hometown athlete who made good and returned to his roots. That community acceptance has helped heal the wounds of ridicule and misunderstanding that once defined him. He can walk into his Five Guys locations, chat with staff, and feel a sense of ownership over something tangible, something that has nothing to do with reality TV ratings. These moments, though unremarkable by celebrity standards, are the building blocks of the life Humphries has created since. It is also worth noting that Humphries has used his platform, however diminished from its peak, to speak openly about mental health and the pressures of public shaming. While not as vocal as some athletes, his acknowledgement of the toll ridicule took on him has been quietly important. He has spoken about anxiety, about the loneliness that comes from being misunderstood, and about the difficulty of moving on when your name is a punchline. That honesty has resonated with fans who recognize the human being behind the headlines. In that way, Humphries has redefined himself, not by chasing sympathy, but by embracing candor. He knows he will never escape the association with Kim entirely, but he has learned to live with it, to treat it as one chapter in a much longer story, rather than the definition of his entire identity. Years removed from the glare of the Kardashian orbit, Kris Humphries has become a kind of case study in what happens when fame collides with ordinary ambition. He did not parlay his notoriety into a reality show or a line of merchandise. He did not lean into the drama or milk the headlines for relevance. Instead, he retreated, regrouped, and quietly built a stable life centered on business, community, and personal growth. That choice may not generate tabloid buzz, but it has given him peace. In his world now, success is measured not by magazine covers, but by the steady hum of a restaurant doing well, the satisfaction of mentoring a young athlete, or the ability to walk down the street without paparazzi trailing behind. Inside Kris Humphries' private life after divorce from Kim Kardashian lies a story of resilience and reinvention, not the scandal or comedy many might assume. He is no longer the man at the center of a celebrity whirlwind, but rather someone who has deliberately stepped out of it, trading flash for substance. The lessons of his past remain with him, shaping the quiet existence he values today. And while the world may never forget the 72-day marriage, Kris Humphries has proven that his story did not end there. It merely began a new, quieter, and far more authentic chapter.